I have received a letter from a British journalist who writes for the Wimbledon.com, Mark Hodgkinson, in which he says, "Hi Sam, I hope you are very well. I have some follow-up questions. If you have a moment to answer these, perhaps in a video as you did last time, that would be very helpful. Thanks so much." The first question: why do you believe that the pyramids can boost immunity against COVID? I see you told the New York Times that this place is 1,000 times more powerful than any vaccine. Do you have any more information on this topic? So the first question is about the COVID and the pyramids. Or to be more precise, I don't talk about the pyramids and COVID, but I do talk about the negative ions that we measure in the underground pyramid tunnel complex. These are prehistorical tunnels. And indeed, we do regular measurements of negative ions. What are the negative ions? They are some extra electrons in atoms or molecules. They are free in the air, negatively charged. And then they can connect with the dust. It becomes heavy, they drop to the floor. They connect with the smog, they clean the atmosphere from dust and smog, and all the microbes, viruses, bacteria, fungi, and so on. The more negative ions, the better for us. And in very concrete terms, what is their role when it comes to the human body? If you go to the almighty Google and search the connection between negative ions and immunity, the very first reference from Herald Scholarly Open Access will tell you the negative ions give to the cell's soldiers more energy to fight the invader viruses, which means that negative ions boost the immune system of the body. So they help the body to fight all the viruses, all the invaders. So it is not me telling that. It is actually the medical science. The students of the physiology at the Faculty of Medicine in many countries learn about 42 beneficial effects of the negative ions in our body. And one of them, probably the first one, is to boost the immunity. It's logical to conclude more negative ions, more benefits to us. In our homes, apartments, offices, the concentration of negative ions is very low, 20, 30, or 50 negative ions per cubic centimeter. If you go outside to the downtowns of big cities, it's a little bit fresher, about 100 to 150 negative ions per cubic centimeter. If we go to the mountains and we do regular measurements of the negative ion concentrations in 3 mountains around city of Sarajevo in Bosnia, Mount Igman, it's 750 negative ions per cubic centimeter. And it's pretty much steady concentration in January or in June, winter or summer. 750, meaning it's 5 times healthier than in the cities. Of course it is. You go to the pine tree forest on the mountain Igman, it is healthier than being in the contaminated cities. If you go to the mountain of Jahorina or Bjelašnica near Sarajevo, it's 950. It's even healthier. Well, we do regular measurements in our prehistorical tunnels using scientific instruments called air ion counters. We have 2 of them just to make sure that the concentrations are pretty much the same. We do measure it 3 times a week, and we publish that. The concentration in the prehistorical Ravne tunnels, it is one of the 7 tunnels that we discovered in the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. Well, the concentrations are between 20,000 and 60,000 negative ounce per cubic centimeter during the summertime, when we have a lot of tourists. And during the winter times, when the tourists are less, in January of 2023, it reached the level of 225,000 negative ounce per cubic centimeter. This is the largest concentration measured ever on the planet. I very often use those instruments during my travels when I visit archaeological sites, pyramid sites, or megalithic sites. In Bosnia, in Croatia, in Montenegro, in Serbia, in Germany, in the United Kingdom, South Africa, Egypt, Jordan, United States, Vietnam, and many other countries. The concentrations are usually, if you are outside, the open, 1,500, 1,500. Sometimes in the jungles, 2,000, 2,500, like in Vietnam, or Cerkniško Lake in Slovenia, 2,000 to 5,000. It was really the largest concentration of all the countries, not counting Bosnian pyramids. And under the Bosnian pyramids, in the prehistorical tunnels, concentrations are tens of thousands of negative ions. So far, the largest concentration was considered the one at the Niagara Falls between US and Canada, 100,000. In our case, 225,000. This is science. We measure it and we prove really that visiting the Bosnian Pyramid Tunnels, you boost your immunity, as the medical science claims. Now, the idea that I told New York Times that the place is 1,000 times more powerful than any vaccine, that is not correct. I never said that. But what I do say is, if our homes have 50 negative ounce per cubic centimeters and tunnels 50,000, obviously it is 1,000 times healthier being in tunnels than staying at homes. That include the period 2020, 2022, when people were asked to stay home versus visiting the tunnels. And as far as the vaccine, or to be more precise, the experimental, genetical, pharmaceutical product, I really do not know the content of this product, but I do know the content of what's happening in the tunnels. In the tunnels, we have actually the combination of 10 elements that are measurable. If you can measure it, you can scientifically prove it. The first 5 is the absence of all harmful radiations. The first one is the cosmic radiations. The cosmos, we have a lot of radiations coming to our planet. Some of them are harmful, attacking our body. Our body cells fight those enemies. No harmful cosmic radiations in the tunnels. Number 2, natural radioactivity coming from the underground. Well, we use Geiger-Miller counters to measure natural radioactivity. Sometimes when we walk the streets, radioactivity coming, attacking our body. So our body cells fight the enemies from above and from below. In the tunnels, no radioactivity. The values are so low. They are dozens of times lower than the minimum allowed. Number 3, geopathogenic radiations, no measurements. Number 4, signal for the cell phones, mobile phones. They are harmful, whether it's 3G, 4G, or 5G. In the tunnels, no signal for the mobile phones. Number 5, signal for the Wi-Fi, internet. Of course, we cannot live without the cell phones or internet. But the radiations are bad for us. They burned our brain cells. In the tunnels, no signal for the Wi-Fi. Number 6, the best frequency of electromagnetic field, 28 kilohertz. That's our planetary frequency. Our planet is our mother. Everything that comes from her is good for us. Number 7, the ultrasound frequency of 28 kilohertz. In science, it is considered the levitation frequency. People feel light when in tunnels. Number 8, we have very low frequency of 7.83 hertz. In science, it is called the original Schumann resonance. That's the original resonance of our planet. When we go to the tunnels, we feel we went back to our homes. That's the frequency of our planet. We go back to the balance because of the contaminated energies in the cities, TVs, computers, microwaves, tablets, cell phones, satellite dishes, and so on, that all affects the frequency of the place where we live. And it affects our body as a stress. Well, in the tunnels, we don't have that stress. Then we have high level of orgone, or life energy, which is also measurable, and the negative ions. So those 10 elements, that's the content of the tunnels. And I know that for sure, that it benefits human bodies. And that's the reason why we have thousands of healing testimonials so far of the people who go to the tunnels. Because in some cases, we measure some of their medical features before and after visiting the tunnels. So that would be the answer to the first question. Do you have any more information on this topic? Yes, so these were the information. The second question, did you ever have any conversation with the Novaks about the pyramids boosting immunity against COVID? Did he believe that the pyramids could help protect him from COVID? Well, I did have conversation about what I just said, about measurable properties of the tunnels. Basically about the energy properties which I just described. And we were even getting our instruments to show him the concentration of negative ions, electromagnetism, level of orgone energy, and so on. So he's very well aware of that. So if the corona was a virus and the negative ions fight the viruses and enable our body cells to fight the viruses, it's very obvious that the negative ions can help boost the immunity against all the viruses. The next one, question number 3. Do you think Novak was unfairly treated by Australia last year? Did you speak to him or message him when he was in the detention center or prison in Melbourne? I travel a lot, almost 100 countries that I visited. In some countries, of course, they had the visa requirements, in some African countries, Asia, and so on. And what you do, you go to the embassy, you obtain the visa, you show it at the airport before you load the plane, you travel to the country, they check the visa, they let you in. And that's exactly what Novak did. In December of 2021, was it? Before traveling to Australia. And he got the Australian visa in his passport. He came to the airport, and for some reason they cancelled his visa. And they did give him unfair treatment because he did everything right. And then all of a sudden, the government minister decided to change the decision of other government institutions who issued him a visa. So in that respect, I think that was unfair. But what I do know is in every public statement, even while in detention, at the court and when leaving Australia in 2022, Novak always showed the utmost respect for Australia, Australian people, tournament organizers, and his fans. It was not easy, but he acted as a gentleman. When he came back to Serbia, he gave an interview to BBC TV. And a week later, he gave some additional explanation to the Serbian state TV. So I think that he explained very well how he felt, how he was treated, and again, he acted as a gentleman. He's one of the best athletes in the sport of all time. And in tennis, we all can agree that he is arguably the best tennis player who ever lived. The next question, number 4. How do you think that experience, being deported from Australia, might have changed him and the way he thinks about the world? Well, you have to learn about it through his interviews, which I just mentioned, to BBC and the Serbian state TV. Question number 5. Did that show that Novak stands up for what he believes in? Now, what I believe you reference this question to is his statement when he said that he always takes care what he gets inside his body, what he eats, what he drinks, the pills, the vaccines, and so on. And he basically said, yes, he wants to make sure that what he's getting into his body is right. And probably the vaccines, the pharmaceutical products, pills, and so on is part of that. And basically what he's saying that he'd like every person on the planet to have freedom, to have choice, what to get into his body. And this is part of the wider set of freedoms, which are basically the constitutional rights of all of us. What we do, what we eat, where we go, how we organize ourselves, how we express ourselves. And talking about that particular, very unfortunate time in humanity, 2020 to 2022, these were tough times. And yes, Novak really stands for certain principles. And as we learned later, there are people who are basically buying those certificates so they could travel. Probably Novak was able to do that. He didn't do it. He was fair towards himself, his family, and the world. And he publicly said that, which means that he does stand for his principles. And finally, the last question. Please, can you explain more about how the pyramids can be used as an advanced communication system and how they emit energy beams? There is a difference between the Bosnian Pyramid project and all other pyramid projects around the world, whether they are in Egypt, China, Peru, Mexico, Bolivia, or other countries. The difference is that we do have an interdisciplinary scientific approach. Because besides the classical sciences, archaeology, Egyptology, geology, biology, paleontology, and so on, we do include very sophisticated techniques coming from high technological devices, georadar, geothermal analysis, satellite analysis, and experts in energy phenomena like physicists, electrical engineers, sound engineers, telecommunication engineers, medical doctors. These are the people who come with the scientific instruments and measure. Again, if you can measure, you can scientifically prove. So, from 2010 up to present, we have had several scientific teams coming with the scientific instruments, measuring different energy properties on the pyramids and in the tunnels. The most exciting measurements were on the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. It is the largest pyramid on the planet, using very modern LiDAR technology. We conclude that this pyramid is 368 meters in height. It's four-sided with the triangular faces. And those faces, those sides, perfectly match the cardinal points. As a matter of fact, orientation to the north is the most precise on the planet, according to the State Institute for Geodesy from Sarajevo. Well, different teams of specialists have measured energy beam on the very top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, which is 4.5 meters in diameter, electrical in nature, 28 kilohertz frequency. And as it goes up, using drones, we realized that this energy beam expands from 4.5 to 20 meters, then being reduced to 4.5, 20, 4.5, 20. And the strength of the signal, it was getting stronger as it moves away from the pyramids. In science, this phenomenon is called scalar waves. The genius mind of Nikola Tesla, well, he was the first one who was investigating this subtle energy phenomenon. In the last 50 years, the Russian physicists were working on it, and they concluded that scalar waves move quicker than the speed of light, or to be more precise, that the information within the scalar fields move quicker than the speed of light, making this media ideal to transport the energy or the information. That's why we concluded that the first potential purpose of pyramid energy was the communication device. The first team who came was from Zagreb, Croatia, in 2010, who brought their scientific instruments, oscilloscopes, spectrometers, and so on. 3 months later, the team from Belgrade, led by engineer Goran Marjanović, brought their own instruments and confirmed this particular frequency of 28 kilohertz. The sound engineer Heikki Savolainen from Finland, Helsinki, brought his instruments. He confirmed this frequency. Anthropologist Professor Paolo De Bertolis from Italy confirmed this frequency. The German scientists, led by Dr. Konstantin Meil, confirmed these frequencies. When in science you have 5 independent scientific teams coming from 5 different countries, bringing their own scientific instruments, coming at 5 different times during the spring and summer and fall and winter, and they all get the same results, it is called an international scientific verification of the phenomenon. In this particular case, this energy beam, which might be used for the communication purposes. So, that would really exhaust those six questions that Mark had for me. If there are any more questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.